Hi, it's Kalia Hall Trali, and today I want to take some time to speak to you about attorneys and wholesaling real estate. That was one of the questions that I had earlier this week. Someone wanted to know if an attorney is required for wholesaling real estate, and how many contracts, and what is a wholesaling contract. So the first thing that I'll go over is just briefly, I'll go over what is wholesaling for some people who may be new to the group. And let's say you don't know anything about wholesaling, but wholesaling is basically when you're going in, you're looking for motivated sellers, and you want to actually meet with a seller, get their property under contract. So you want to purchase the property from them. But instead of you actually buying the property and acquiring it, you basically just reassign your interest in that contract to another investor for a fee. So that essentially, that's what wholesaling is. Okay, and so the question was, what is the wholesaling, how many contracts are there? So basically in wholesaling, there's two contracts. You have the purchase agreement, which is used to actually get the property under contract with the seller. And then also you have an assignment agreement that's used to actually transfer your interest in that contract with the seller to another person that's going to come in. So let's say they're a flipper, they're going to come in and they're going to actually take over your interest in that contract. So that contract will be between you, if you're the wholesaler, and the person that you're reassigning your contract to. So yes, there is two contracts. And what I suggest is when you first get in, a lot of people are just getting in. Let's say they're getting contracts online and things like that. There's probably to buying a contract from Staples or like an Office Depot or something like that, because again, those are very general contracts. So even for instance, if you're going to actually purchase real estate, you could have like a general contract. Let's say it's not state specific, so it can apply to any state. There will be certain addendums and laws that will apply just primarily to the state where you are. So there could be like extra addendums, because typically if you're going to go, even if you were using a real estate agent, the contract is going to be specific to that state where you are. But there's probably going to be some other addendums and things like that, some additional clauses that need to go with that could be part of your state laws. So what I normally suggest is that when you're getting into wholesaling, you definitely want to have an attorney, someone that's an investor-friendly attorney, to actually just kind of review the contracts that you're using, because these are legal binding contracts. So if you don't really know what you're doing and you're using something that could have even been written for another state, then that's not necessarily going to help you. But you can start with now for the assignment agreements. The assignment agreement is more so just for your reassignment. So for that one, I've seen all types of assignment contracts and things like that. So that one's not going to necessarily have any addendums. Unless you add something else to it later. But for that one, the main clauses in that contract are your reassignment of the rights in the contract. So that's the main thing. The second thing in that contract is the consideration. And the consideration is basically how much is somebody going to pay you for those rights. So that's also spelled out in that contract, and how whatever they're going to pay you. So like let's say they're going to give you $10,000. Well, how is that broken up? Is it $10,000 at settlement? Is it $5,000 now? Is it $5,000 later? And who's holding those contracts? So those are the type of clauses that you can actually find in the assignment agreement. Again, if you're probably just getting a general assignment agreement online, more than likely it's probably just paid on the back end. Maybe there's no extra deposits and things. So you need to make sure that when you're wholesaling too, you're also getting a deposit from the person that you're actually reassigning your contract to. And then again, you got to specify who's holding those contracts. Or I'm sorry, who's holding those deposits? Because that's very important when you're dealing with purchasing real estate and things like that. So, okay, the question was how many contracts, how much consideration. So again, there's really not much to say about that one, especially the assignment agreement. I think that was the main question that was asked. It's not too much to say about that. But again, making sure that you find an attorney that is investor friendly, because some of these attorneys, if they don't really know what you're doing, like some people may say, oh, okay, I work with anybody, but when you get with them, if they're not investor friendly, then sometimes they'll kill your deal. Or they may even tell you, oh, well, this is not legal, especially like when you're wholesaling. A lot of times the first thing you hear is that wholesaling is illegal. But reassigning if the seller has agreed to it, which of course that's another clause that needs to be in your purchase agreement. But if the seller has agreed to the reassignment and that's allowed by your state law, then there's nothing illegal about you reassigning your interest in a contract to somebody. It just has to be agreed to. And so if all parties agree, then there's nothing illegal about that. So definitely you want to make sure that you have an attorney that understands what you do, so they understand wholesaling and they're familiar with it. So in that way, you know, it'd be easier for you to get your deals done. And so you do need an attorney. So again, you can have an attorney look over your contracts. An attorney would also hold deposits. So again, when you look to buy, they're going to hold a deposit. And you can also use them, I mean, for your assignment contract, if you want to, you can actually use an attorney to write your assignment agreement if you need to. And then also you're going to need an attorney to perform the closing. And it's good habit also that whatever attorney you're going to use, make sure that the buyer or the person that you're reassigning your contract to is okay with coming in to use that same attorney that you're going to use. Because that way it just makes it a lot easier if they're already holding, like, let's say certain deposits, or they've already written certain contracts or had the purchase agreement. They may have even started doing like some type of title searches. So it's easy if you bring in, if your buyer that you're bringing in, the rehabber, is going to use that same settlement company. So that's basically it when it comes to contracts. So again, just to run down quickly, it's 2 contracts. You have the purchase agreement. You also have the reassignment agreement. It is good to have an attorney involved. And so we went over what an assignment agreement is, and basically just making sure you find somebody that's investor friendly. So does anybody have any questions just about what we covered today in reference to attorneys and wholesaling contracts? And also another thing that I suggest is, I'm sorry, my thing popped up. Another thing that I suggest is, of course, when it comes to wholesaling, you know, just double check your state laws to make sure that it is okay for you to actually wholesale real estate. Because again, I'm not an attorney. I'm just here to kind of help you out some. But if you have any other questions, just feel free to go ahead and drop your questions and things like that below this video. Okay, and bye-bye for now.